What's going on, y'all? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Prolific Minds Podcast. It's your boy Ken Freeman coming at you right from Chicago, Illinois, one of the greatest cities on this very planet. So thanks for tuning in. I got a good one today. I got a really good one today. Want to get into it on the topic of intrinsic worth, a worth that we all got, a value that we all possess, that if we tap into it, it'll completely change our lives, can change the way we look at life, change the way we look at what we capable of completing and accomplishing. So absolutely, man. Want to get into that today. But I ask that, if you get anything from my videos, any inspiration, any insight, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share the video, leave a comment. Do all you got to do to let me know that you're feeling the material and that you want it to keep coming. And it's going to keep coming regardless, you know what I'm saying? But just let me know when you feeling it and you want what you really specifically vibing with, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to get right into it, okay? The topic today is intrinsic worth. One thing I want to start off with that I do want to emphasize and really shed a really bright light on is the fact that we are spiritual beings with physical bodies, okay? We are spiritual beings with physical bodies, and we need to tap into our spirit. We need to identify with our spirits. You know what I mean? I'm going to do a different video on that. But all of the issues that we deal with in life, that we normally go to something on the outside to make us feel better. Maybe it's companionship. Maybe it's drugs. Maybe it's liquor. Maybe it's watching TV. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, there is a value on the inside of us that we can tap into to make us feel better, to make us feel encouraged and motivated, that we all possess, all right? Because in our spirit, it lies an intrinsic worth that is more valuable, literally, than all the gold and diamonds on earth. You know what I mean? I know that sounds crazy, that, we all possess individually, no matter where you from, how you look, what you've been through, that you possess something that's more valuable than all the gold and jewels on earth and diamonds. But it's facts, though. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm going to dive into in my video. So the definition of intrinsic is something that belongs to you naturally, all right? It's something that's inherent, that's inborn, something that you hardwired with, something that you got before you get here, you know what I mean? So that's that value that I'm talking about. It's a value that's already within us, you know what I'm saying? And that value is very powerful. And if you tap into it, it completely change your life. And the world has been doing that since the beginning of the time, you know what I mean? If you think about, especially in the last couple hundred years, how much we've advanced as humans in humanity, it's a crazy power that we had to tap into to get to where we are right now, right? You talk about 100 years ago, 150 years ago, wasn't no internet, wasn't no vehicles, wasn't no cars, wasn't no planes, you know what I mean? So we've been able to create a crazy advancement, and you wonder where that comes from. What is the ability to get to where we are now versus where we just were a few centuries ago? Not even a few centuries, so a few generations ago. What did we get that from? And that's a value that's within all of us, you know what I mean? So if you think of some really successful people alive today, you know what I mean, they're still living, some not, but if you think about Elon Musk, if you think about Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, Jay-Z, Barack Obama, very successful people, very influential people that have a crazy value to them. So if you think about, like, how did they become successful? How did they become so influential? Some people may say, well, they purchased it, you know what I mean? Or, it was given to them. But if you say they purchased it, that really doesn't make any sense, because if someone has the ability to purchase success or to purchase recognition or purchase influence, where did they get the money to purchase it from? You know what I mean? So success, whether it be in the form of money, assets, fame, or, effectively making people feel what you do through, like, your speech or, your teaching, which is a form of leadership and influence, those are all symbols of success. So if you think somebody brought their success, or they brought their fame, or they brought their influence, money is a symbol of success. So even before they were able to purchase whatever, influence or fame or, networking the opportunity that they use their money to get, they had to gain that capital. You know what I mean? So they had to practice a level, or they have to practice or implement a system of successful habits in their life in order to even get any money. You know what I mean? So all of those things are symbols of success, like money, assets, fame, influence, and what it takes to get to those levels, the level of Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jay-Z, Barack Obama, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, people of that nature. What it takes to get there, you need a successful drive. You need a successful idea. You need a successful determination, a successful mentality. You need perseverance. You need hunger. You need ambition. You know, these are all vital keys to success. You know what I'm saying? There's evidence that these attributes all lie within us because there are people that come from the same backgrounds that those guys that I named come from. You know what I mean? Jay-Z wasn't the only one in Marcy Projects. Warren Buffett not the only person from Nebraska. You know what I mean? He wasn't the only kid in his elementary, middle school, high school, college. He wasn't the only kid there. You know what I mean? So it's obvious that the same people that we perceive to have so much success, power, and influence, they were around others that had very similar upbringings. But what's the difference? Because they were able to achieve success, and the people that are around them fell by the wayside. Or even if they did reach a level of success, it wasn't anywhere near as compared to those names. And being successful is levels to it, and you want to be able to accomplish your goals and dreams in whatever fashion you can in your own lane. You know what I'm saying? But there's plenty of people that do not make it, that do not become successful. Everyone has the goal of achieving their dreams, living up to their aspirations, but a lot of people don't. You know what I'm saying? So what's the difference between those that do and those that don't? And the difference is intrinsic value and how much they actually tap into it. You know what I mean? The people that really dig deep within and they reach down within themselves and they grab that perseverance, they grab that ambition, that determination, that drive, those are the people that become the most successful in life. And all of those values, those tools that they use, we have them within us. So if you asking the question like, what is intrinsic value? What are some examples? Some of my definitions of intrinsic value, intrinsic tools is belief, faith, love, peace, integrity, which means being the same person no matter the circumstances, focus, perseverance, optimism. You know, these and, you know, other, you know, positive attributes that we have in hand in order to achieve our goals and realize our aspirations in life. These are intrinsic values. You know what I'm saying? So if you think about some of the most basic ones, or the most basic ones that I point to, are love, peace, and joy. You know what I mean? Those are the most basic intrinsic properties that we have. And that's a fact because they are present even amongst the smallest, youngest humans. Like children and infants prove that there is a hardwired property to all of us. Like small children and infants are always laughing. They're always happy. They're full of wonder and amazement. And if you're full of wonder and amazement, life looks a lot more, how could I say, malleable to you. If you're very wondrous and amazed by life, you're going to accomplish a lot more because you're going to want to move around more, meet more people. You know, wonder and amazement is going to take you more places. It's going to give you a bigger imagination, and that's what kids normally have. You know what I mean? So if you have any children in your life, you'll know this is true. So it's obvious that the way that children are hardwired, they're always laughing, they're always full of joy and very forgiving. You know what I mean? You know, the other attributes that are negative, we gain those as we get older. But just, you know, the earliest forms of life have evidence that there is a worth within us, and that's just that spirit showing itself through. You know what I mean? So I believe that love, peace, and joy are very evident and obvious amongst children. And those are the most basic forms of intrinsic value. All right, so the other forms are ones I feel like we gain over time, like belief, faith, love, peace, integrity, you know, things of that nature. And it takes particular circumstances to bring about these attributes, you know what I mean? So that could be in the form of your own experiences, you know, things you heard from other people. You can learn learn them in books or movies or through a video like this. You can add those attributes to yourself, but you are already hardwired with, you know, what you need to add a belief, add faith, add wonder, add perseverance. You have that in your being in order to use once you need it after you learn it. So one of the most important intrinsic values that we have, in my opinion, is perseverance. And perseverance is the act of continuing to try to achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. Okay. So perseverance is one of the most important values we have as humans because it's what's tapped into when we need to push on, despite extreme circumstances that make us want to quit. You know what I mean? One of the driving forces behind evolution and humanity is perseverance. You know what I mean? You talk about something like a tsunami, something like a tornado, something like an earthquake, things that are completely out of our control. Perseverance is what we tap into in order to get past it. Perseverance is what oppressed people tap into in order to get past the fact that they're being treated differently and bad just because of how they were born or where they were from or what language they speak. Perseverance is what, a mother who loses a child taps into when she needs to push on, especially has other children that she needs to show strength for. Perseverance is what you tap into when you're in school and you're like drowning in homework, you're drowning in books, and you got tests coming up, and you're trying to get to the best high school or to the best college, or you're trying to pass this test to become a professional. Like, perseverance is what you tap into when you want to quit, but you keep going. So it's a very important property for us to have. It's a very important property for us to tap into and to use. You know what I mean? And some great examples of some people who use perseverance to overcome their odds. Are men like Viktor Frankl, Nelson Mandela, and one of my favorite people in history, Malcolm X. Okay, so Viktor Frankl was actually a psychiatrist from Austria, and he lived back in the time during World War II, and he was Jewish. Viktor Frankl ended up going to Auschwitz during World War II. The Germans came to Poland, they took over where he was living, and they sent him to Auschwitz, which was a concentration Nazi death camp. And Viktor Frankl lost his entire family there. He lost his wife, he lost his mother, he lost his siblings. Everybody he loved and cared about died in those camps. And the same fate was really destined for him and anyone else there that was Jewish. So one thing that Frankl did in order to keep going and not lose his mind and just give up, he used to imagine that he was teaching his class while he was in the camp because he was a teacher. He was a psychiatrist, but he was also a teacher. And that was his form of perseverance. He used to literally imagine that he was not there, that he was still in class teaching the students, giving lectures. And that's what helped him make it through. And the people around him noticed the difference. And he ended up surviving the death camps, and he became one of the most world-renowned authors ever. A lot of people may have never heard of him, but Viktor Frankl, he was a great author. He wrote a book called Meditations of Man or something like that. I'll put the book up because I think that's wrong. But I have it on my list to read, but he wrote a great book. He was a great author. The next person I want to talk about is Nelson Mandela. Now, Nelson Mandela, he did 27 years in the South African prison, 27 straight years, and he did 27 years for a righteous cause. So, European colonists came to South Africa and they took over and they put their own people in government, and they, created the generation of apartheid where natives were being oppressed by European colonists, which is something that happened all over the world. And Nelson Mandela was an influential figure in the opposition to apartheid, and because of that, he got incarcerated. He was incarcerated for 27 years for a righteous cause of standing up for an oppressed people. But despite that 27 years he did, he remained resilient, he remained steadfast, and he used the attribute of perseverance, and he was released, and he became the president of South Africa after doing 27 years in prison. He stayed dedicated to the cause despite losing more than a third of his life in prison. He stayed dedicated, and he came out and became president. That's a great, crazy example of perseverance. Let's talk about Malcolm X, one of my favorite people. Malcolm X came from the South. His father was a preacher. If people don't know about that. If you ever wonder how he such a good public speaker, because he was one of the best ever. If you ever watch any of his videos or any of his speeches, Malcolm X had a father who was a preacher, and he was a preacher who spoke out against discrimination in the South. And of course, back in those days, early 1900s, it was a group of people that didn't want to hear that, And his father ended up getting murdered for speaking out against the discrimination and the racism that black people were dealing with in the South at that time. His father got killed by the Ku Klux Klan, if I'm not mistaken. So he dealt with that, and he ended up growing up and getting in the streets, and he ended up going to prison for 6.5 years. So when he got to prison, he was a street kid, he was a hustler, he was a robber, he was a thief. This is who Malcolm X was when he got to prison, but he tapped into something different. He started to read, he started to study, he started to educate himself. He adopted the religion of Islam, which I'm not religious. I don't subscribe to any religion. I do support all people that do and all religions because I know the power in them. Just want to put that disclaimer out there. But he adopted the religion of Islam, and he completely changed his life. He came home and he became a leader in one of the most powerful civil rights movements, which was the NOI, the Nation of Islam. And he completely changed the course of history with just who he was as a person, because of the perseverance he tapped into, that he had to tap into over the death of his father, that he had to tap into after doing 6.5 years in prison, that he had to tap into knowing that just because he was a black man, he was going to be discriminated against, and his children were going to be discriminated against, and he wasn't going to get the same opportunities that he deserved, that the Constitution said that we all have, the equality we all have. He wasn't going to get those opportunities because he was black, and he died for that cause. But those are some great examples of perseverance, and those examples depict what we have within us, what we can tap into ourselves. We can literally tap into that perseverance. We can tap into that, and we can use that to achieve anything we need to overcome any obstacles we need to. We have that within us, you know what I mean? And that's something that we've been doing throughout history as human beings, So if you want to know how do we tap into our intrinsic values, the first thing you have to know is that you have intrinsic value. You have to be aware of it, and you have to believe that you have it, because you can't tap into something that you don't believe exists. You can't, halfway believe, but be doubtful and fearful that if you rely on what you actually have, that it won't work out. If you're dual-minded, it's not going to work. You have to really believe that you do have intrinsic value. And then you can tap into it by following examples of the people who you define as successful, people who blaze paths that you want to follow, or just, as an example to blaze your own path. You can look at them and study them and what they did to achieve their status. And I guarantee that if you do that, if you study the people that you really perceive to be as great, whether it's somebody around you, somebody that's a public figure, somebody that's a historical figure, whatever they are, if you study these people and you really put the time and effort in to realize how they became who they are and how they got their status, one thing that you will realize that is very clear is that the only difference between them and you is how far they reached into themselves to produce what they wanted in life, how far did they reach into their toolbox of intrinsic value. That's the only difference between somebody who reaches the greatest success and those that don't. How far do you reach into yourself to get to where you want to be? How hard do you persevere? How determined are you? How dedicated are you? How focused are you? How driven are you? And all of those traits we have. We just have to tap into it. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing you could do. Study someone, or study people who you define as successful, who you recognize as people who you want to follow, or you want to lead a life similar to theirs. Study them and replicate it, and believe that you can, because what they have, you can have too. It's just a matter of application. So the second most effective way is influencing this value to come from, beneath the surface, beneath your surface, and its reality, is to meditate. Meditation is so powerful. Meditation is so important, and I'll do a different video on that one. But just to briefly talk about it, meditation is very simply deeply thinking and focusing on your thoughts, to produce, all you want in life. So the best practice, my best practice that I recommend is to go in a quiet room, and turn off all distractions. You turn off your phone, turn off the TV, turn off computers. You wanna be able to really focus your mind. And, you can turn off the lights. You know what I mean? Because lights can be distracting. So after you're there, you have to really think deeply on what you need to get to where you want to be. What values do you need? What do you need to tap into? You know what I mean? Is it perseverance? Is it dedication? Is it focus? Is it perseverance to overcome an obstacle you're dealing with right now? Is it focus to get to the next point, that next step in life? Whether that's in school, whether that's in your career, whether that's, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, whether that's gym goals, anything, you know what I mean? So you wanna focus on that. You wanna focus on, what you need to get to where you want to be. And you want to see yourself actually using those values, using that resilience you need, using that strength you need. You want to see yourself, visualize yourself. That's very powerful to visualize. Visualize yourself practicing these values in the same exact situation that you need them in. Because there's a vast power in our thoughts. There's a vast power in our imagination. I'm going to do a video on that. So that is what you really need to do. You need to focus on the values that you need. You need to see yourself displaying those values, using those values. Imagine yourself using what you need to get to where you want to be. Okay? And you do that consistently, and you really believe, because thoughts become things. Let me say that again. Your thoughts become things. Every single thing that you see in life that you may place value on, this microphone I'm talking to, this iPhone that I'm talking to, yeah, I'm using iPhone 15, my laptop, my vehicle, plane, building that I'm living in, whatever you can think of, that is a physical thing, or even social constructs, the definition of what a healthy relationship is, the definition of what a true friendship is, good and bad, right and wrong, righteous and unrighteous. These were all thoughts that became things. They started in someone's mind. They started in humans' minds, and they came out and they became realities. So you can create your reality by focusing on what you need in life, what you want in life. You focus on these intrinsic values. You focus on what you need to get to where you want to be, and you believe that it can happen, and I'll guarantee you it will. And that's what you need to do lastly. You need to put it into practice. Once you meditate on all these things, you leave that space. You remember what you meditated on when those situations come about. Whatever situation that you meditated for, you don't forget that meditation when the situation happens. When the situation happens where you need resilience, you need strength, you need fortitude, you need grind, you need hustle, you need confidence, whatever you need, you remember what you meditated on and you use it in that situation. And I guarantee you will get the results you want. You can become the person you want to be. You can and you will achieve success. And you will do all of this because we all have a value inside of us. We all have an intrinsic worth that is inside of us, that if we tap into it, it will give us all the lives that we need and that we want. We just got to tap into it. More powerful than any, than you can imagine, more valuable than anything you can imagine. We have it within us. We just have to tap into it. My life is a testament of it. I use perseverance over and over again. Coming from Chicago, coming from the streets, going through loss, going through pain, going through suffering, all of that. Tapped into that intrinsic toolbox, and hey, doing pretty good right now, and I'm blessed. So I appreciate you for tuning in. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share, comment. If you have any questions, if you have anything else you want to hear a video about, I am dropping more videos as much as I can. But check me out. It's your boy Ken Freeman, straight from Chicago, Illinois, giving it a different perspective on the city, from a young kid doing what he can to make it, you know what I mean? So I appreciate you once again for tuning in to the Prolific Minds podcast. Y'all take it easy. Y'all be blessed.